I would have been stuck in the same situation of making a salary, doing work that wasn't like setting my soul on fire. But I've followed my intuition. I've gone against the grain in some way. And it really is just a case of showing up every day and becoming obsessed.
Welcome to Indecisive Moments, Lucy. Thanks so much for being my guest today.
Thanks so much, Sophia. I'm so excited to be here with you, and I've been loving all your episodes so far. And of course, like, we know each other pretty well, so I think this conversation will be very honest. And yeah, I'm very excited.
Yeah, absolutely. And for anyone who doesn't know, we actually used to work at the same creative studio space in Dalston, and that's how we became friends. So I'm so excited to have you as my guest today. I know that you had a pretty interesting path, starting in pharmacology, then moving into branding, and now 3D. Can you share a bit about that journey and what first pulled you toward creativity?
It's been so long and winding, my journey. And yeah, I could have been in a lab coat. And yeah, I guess I've always been a very creative person but I'm like a lot of people. I mean, when I was a kid, I was always making in whatever format I had available to me, whether that's like making multi-story hotels for my hamsters or clothes for dolls. You know, I was just always like crafting in some sort of way. And then you kind of go through the school system, which for me was not a creative experience at all. And yeah, I think it just made me much more academic. And I ended up studying sciences, biology, chemistry, and I also did art. So it was very much just like I was going to go one of two ways is what I felt like. And a big part of it was thinking I need to get a job, and art wasn't very much part of my schooling. It was kind of more like, you do this for a hobby and you could be an art teacher. But realistically, it's like, if you want a job, be a dentist, be a lawyer, you know? And yeah, so I was also really interested in neuroscience and kind of the effects of drugs on the brain and how our brains function, how they work. And so I ended up kind of veering towards pharmacology, and I then applied to study that at uni. So yeah, I mean, I went to all the open days and then kind of thought, what am I doing? Like, this isn't me at all. Like, I'm bloody like creative, pie in the sky kind of big dreamer, like a lab coat and technical stuff. And well, I mean, I guess I do technical stuff now, but like precision and maths, I'm like, that isn't me at all. So yeah, I had this kind of feeling that I'm not pursuing the right goal. And I then applied to do graphic design, which I got into eventually. And I mean, even on that course, I was told a lot by other people on the course, just like, you should be doing fine art, you should be doing art and design, because I would approach the briefs in a much more experimental way. And I always wanted to use more tools other than just like the computer to make something. Like, I guess typography wasn't really setting my soul on fire. So yeah, but I wanted an applied art because I wanted to get a job at the end. And I just think I really wasn't sure what job I could get with just really exploring art and design. So yeah, I'm glad I made that choice to do graphics, because obviously, like, well, I did get a job straight off the back of that. The thing is, I feel that I started very quickly into my career. You know, you leave uni and your main aim is to get a job. I also moved to London, so you're just spending a lot of your time trying to keep your head above water and making money. So you're not thinking like, oh, well, for me personally, I wasn't thinking what gets me excited, like what is my true passion, I need to follow that. I just thought I must get paid, therefore I have this job, which I absolutely loved. My first job was so much fun. I was doing web design and UI, and the company was just full of my friends. Like, I just had such a great time. And I was there for 2.5 years. And then I just thought, oh, wow, like, as soon as you get into the working world, you could just keep working a job indefinitely. You could just stick to your career until you retire, and then that's your life. And I just thought, oh, wow, if you're not in control of your decisions, time just kind of gets swept away and you're just in the midst of it. And I thought, right, I need to actually stop, have some reflection, and think about what I actually want. And then I moved to a branding studio, which was definitely a lot more of what I imagined I wanted to be doing. I felt much more creative again. And, we were coming up with all the strategy and concepts and coming up with the pitch decks for different brands and campaigns. And it was so much fun. But I still felt like, it's still not as creative. The output is still somehow restricted, and I still didn't get that buzz that I was hoping to achieve from doing branding. Because to an extent, there are those restrictions in place for the end result, and you can't go too wild or wacky or weird, is how I felt. And I was like, I'm still on my mission to find what my thing is that I love. And I did think I would find it in that branding world, but I still didn't, to be honest. And then I discovered 3D.
There are so many things that you mentioned that I can strongly relate to. First off, I also had a hamster when I was a kid. So I love that you started out building worlds for your hamster. But I'd love to go back to that moment when you realized the lab coat life wasn't for you. So what was going through your head then?
Well, I definitely think the school system just makes you just choose something very quickly and just go with it. And that's exactly what I did. You get given that book of every course that you could possibly do, and you just like, what do I enjoy? What am I studying? I guess I'll choose that one. But I think I had this feeling. I was in a chemistry class, and I just thought, fuck, like, no, I don't want to do pharmacology. And it was a really like jolting feeling of like, I need to not be doing this course. So I'd already applied by this point. I was already studying towards that. So I spent the rest of that year just calling up different unis like, I want to change to your graphics course, please. And I honestly think I contacted every single person that I could get the email of that was part of the graphics and just general design department at Leeds Uni. And then I finally got in. And I don't regret it at all. It was the best choice for me. Absolutely. Because I think I listened to my true instinct rather than just following what I should be doing. And I decided to treat neuroscience as that's an interesting thing I can dip into, So yeah, I am really glad that I made that choice.
But so how did you start figuring out what kind of work actually felt most you? And how did you find 3D then in the end?
Yeah, I felt like I was clutching at straws for a long time, like really trying to find anything that would make me excited. And I really was still looking for my creative calling. I remember like seeing the work of 6 and 5 and Andre Reisinger on Behance, and just thought, I'd love to be able to do that. I just remember thinking, that seems way more exciting than what I'm doing now. I'd love to try and learn that. I was also then freelancing for another year or so before I decided, like, if you actually want to learn this, you have to put the plans in place to make that happen. Otherwise, it won't happen for you. Yeah, I got my studio in Dalston, the one that we shared. And from that moment, that was a huge thing for me, having a space where I could commit and focus to my learning and development. I had my little zone, no distractions. And yeah, I really valued that time, and I just treated my learning as a 9-to-5 job for 6 days a week. And I was in a very privileged situation in the sense that I'd saved up money from freelancing, and I didn't need sponsorship from a company to be able to work in the UK. I realized all these things were allowing me to have the capacity to learn. And yeah, I carved out, it was a good 6 months. I think I did a few branding jobs like to keep the money up during that time, but I knew I'd found my thing because I was just so excited when I was doing it. Like I was really in a state of flow. I just became obsessive, and I think it was the feeling of like, this is the feeling that I was looking for so long in my career, and now I've got it. So yeah, I was just buzzing.
That's so amazing. But it's also such a massive shift to decide to fully commit to 3D and take all the time off from work. So how did it feel to take that leap, both practically and emotionally?
I honestly was just like so excited. I was just yeah, it was just the feeling of like I just felt energized, and although I wasn't making any money, I was just so ignorantly happy that I knew it was the right decision. And yeah, it allowed me to incorporate all my loves, like the world building, the, you know, like the digital dressmaking, all the stuff that I was doing when I was a kid, I was now doing with this software. And yeah, I guess it was a quick way to allow me to make all the things that I had wanted to make in the past that was really ambitious. Like, you know, I once made a character out of wood, like a life-sized character out of wood, and I wanted to make a short film out of this character. And all these things are so ambitious when it's just you as a soul lady and all your ideas and no way of facilitating it. But then as soon as you have this software and this program, you can basically direct and do anything you want within it. And you don't need this whole you know, all these models and these people to help you and all this camera equipment and studio space. You had it all at your fingertips. So it was a really actually effective and quick way of me bringing my ideas to life. So yeah, I was just like absolutely buzzing, to be honest. Buzzing and not making any money.
But so how did you actually start learning 3D? What was the process like for you?
I honestly didn't have much of a plan, and it's something that I would highly recommend people to do before they start committing to learning something. I honestly just bought my PC, got my cinema license and cinema 4D license, and then just would do a random like kind of hunt of different YouTube tutorials, and nothing, it was not specific. It was just honestly so random and sporadic, and I would just follow the tutorial and make whatever that thing is. I also tried to replicate work of people that I admired to give myself some structure and boundaries so I could really try and work out the lighting principles they were using. And I think copying is actually a really useful tool when you're starting out, because yeah, you do have to get to an endpoint, and it does help you kind of develop your skills. And yeah, I guess, yeah, I think what I would say for anyone learning though is that definitely start with a paid online course, because you actually then learn the principles of animation and lighting and look dev, and you don't just like waste time by randomly doing loads of different tutorials that you could be doing indefinitely. Like you can't learn every single technique in 3D. That's just ridiculous. So I definitely could have got to where I wanted to be faster, but yeah, I guess you learn from being a bit ignorant in that sense. And this is the advice I'd give to anyone now. If I gave my younger self that advice, I'd be like, here's what you need to learn, rather than just going, you know, trying everything out that seemed quite fun to explore. But yeah, that was my path, and that's how I did it. Another thing that I would say is that what was useful for me is that I would make notes of every single technique that I learned. So I had it in this big document that I could search for really easily, because you can't remember everything either. And having that document where all of those processes sit, you can just easily get back to. And I mean, still to this day, it can be useful to go back to these moments that you've noted down. So I would definitely say, like, yeah, being really organized and making all your learning is really easy to find.
So do you mean like keeping a diary, or kind of like writing down some sort of instructions? Or
yeah, it will be like instructions, like I mean, this isn't a process anymore, but just how you used to UV map, I would write down step-by-step guide for myself, so I could just do like Control F UV map, and then it would take me to that section, so I'd be able to just follow like for like what I had done before. I mean, even now I still do that sometimes, because you think you're going to remember, but you just don't. And yeah, it's really useful just having that huge document of like C4D tips and tricks.
that's such a good tip, especially since a lot of people find 3D a bit intimidating. So what would you say to someone who wants to learn it but doesn't think they're technical enough?
You can. I would just say I am such, before doing or getting into 3D, I was such a tech noob. I honestly can't stress enough how my friends think it's funny that I do the kind of work that I do now, because I'm not a digital galley at all. Like I would describe myself as very tactile. I like to make things physically and more traditional mediums, I guess. But it's just a case of learning. Like it's just having discipline and routine. It's just another tool for your creative outlet. Yeah, it's just a case of having patience and discipline and really sticking with it and showing up every day to do the work, because it's just like learning anything. Learning anything new is hard, but you can get there. And I wasn't someone that as a kid was like always on the computer or always with software or playing video games. Like I actually didn't really enjoy that too much. Like I wanted to be making things with my hands, but if you don't feel like you're technical enough, trust me, you've got it. You've got it. But the one thing that it has taught me is to enjoy problem solving, because that is just such a big part of the process of 3D. You're problem solving all the time. And I used to hate doing that because I couldn't be bothered. But now I love it, because there's no other way. You have to problem solve your way out of everything. And you just have to have the patience to do so, because the payoff is really high. So that's the big thing.
But you make it sound so easy. Were there any fears or doubts you had to work through at that time when you decided to go full time into 3D?
Yeah. I mean, you know what? This sounds crazy ignorant, but I don't remember having any fears. And I think the reason for that was because I was so ignorant. Whenever you're learning something new, you just don't know how long it's going to take, how much money you're going to lose or invest into it. And you don't know where you're going. So I almost wasn't worried, because I was so happy and excited about what I was doing that it didn't bother me. I was like, well, I've always got 2D to fall back on, worst case scenario, and go back to some branding in freelancing. But I just thought, like, I'm not going to have regret because I'm doing what I love. So yeah, I took my privileged situation and really ran with it. And sometimes ignorance is bliss. But not saying that it wasn't. Like, it was really hard. It was hard. That I feel like if I did go back to that time, I probably did have a lot of worry in me deep down. Like, what am I going to do? How am I going to, get paid? And this is actually really hard. Am I good enough? Like, I have no doubt that those things probably did exist, but you really do forget about them when you've gone through the hardships and you come out the other side, because it always pays off in the end. Like, the worst case scenario for me would be sticking with doing branding, staying in my safe zone, continuing working to make money, and then actually never trying, never seeing where it could go, never seeing what doors it might open for you. And that is actually the worst case scenario. So I had nothing to lose. And just sticking with it, honestly, just stick with something you love.
Yeah, totally. And that's so amazing that you were able to focus on something that you loved and that made you so happy at that time. And it still apparently does.
It really does. I love it. I think about it all the time. Work in a healthy way, I think. Not everyone would say that, but I am addicted to my work for sure.
And I love how we bonded over nerding out on 3D at our Dalston studio.
Absolutely. And like, you are also so driven as well as a person. You're so dedicated to your craft and so multi-skilled, and you've always got so many ideas on the go, and you juggle so many things at once. So I think we're both in the same world of, like, yeah, really following our pursuits and becoming obsessive with the things that we do. That is definitely something we share.
Oh, thank you. And same to you. But I do think it's good to be slightly obsessed about something.
I think so. It gives you purpose, right? I have so much purpose. I feel very busy all the time because I make myself busy with projects and things that I want to be doing. So
yeah, 100%. So you've worked in both freelance and studio settings, and they're such different worlds. So do you think that certain personalities suits one better than the other?
Yes, I really do think so. I think that some people need the structure in their days and the direction and the sense of, like, collaborative energy that you get when working in a studio, because I mean, that is such a motivator when everyone's working towards the same goal. You're working the development process together, seeing everyone's ideas come to life, and everyone interprets it from a very slightly different angle. It's so fun, and it's a great place to learn. I also think some people just want to do a day job, get paid, and then go home. Like, I think that's just also normal and great and fine and healthy. And there are other people that that definitely suit freelance more. Like if you want to be more in control of the types of work you want to be doing, or pursuing side projects and having that flexibility, I think freelance is obviously the best way for you. But yeah, I think not all personalities are suited to the uncertainties of freelance work. And I think if you're not self-sufficient and have that level of determinism, then I think freelance life would be quite a struggle. I mean, it is still a struggle at times, but if you trust yourself and you're resourceful, like it will always work out. But yeah, I think if you are wanting to upskill, or you want that career progression, and you can really get that so fast with working full time, because you've got all these amazing minds there to learn off, and you often get better projects by working in a full time, because the studios aren't giving out all their best work to the freelancers in general. So yeah, I mean, there's so many pros for working full time, but there is also burnout. There is also, I don't think, the most competitive salaries. It's also tough. Like I've definitely not had the smoothest ride in full time. And yeah, you need a decent salary when you're working in London, and sometimes that has been a struggle. You might be working overtime hours, and all those things can really like burn you out big time. For sure.
Yeah, absolutely. And you mentioned that not everything has been smooth sailing for you. Would you like to talk more about that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think that I've had quite a rocky road, I would say, for whatever reason that might be. But I do make my life maybe a bit harder for myself by, constantly mixing things up and like wanting to progress and learn something new, and always seek it. Like, I get bored so easily that I'm just always moving around, and that's just my nature. But yeah, I mean, I've experienced job loss. I've experienced terrible salaries when I've been working overtime and getting burnt out and things not aligning. I think it's an interesting one. I think the creative industries, they don't, although this is so boring, they don't tend to put too much focus on employee well-being. I mean, this is a large sweeping statement, but a lot of creative small studios don't tend to work with HR, and as an employee, you don't have much of a safety net in that sense. And because the environment is so competitive, there's always someone else to pick up the job. So your salary is maybe not as good as a different industry. And those kinds of things, I'm like, I think there could be more work in incentivizing people to work full time in this industry. Like, I don't know, more flexible working, or more time for personal work, or better salaries, or no overtime hours, things like that. But yeah, it's been a lot. It's been a lot, my journey in the old full time and freelance. But yeah, the first full time 3D job I had, I was let go, and I felt really blindsided by it, because there was no part of me that felt like that was going to happen. I was very clear about what my skill set was. I even said, like, I can't do keyframe animation. Like, I was completely open and honest. And yeah, there can be a lot of interesting characters. I'm not saying it's just this industry at all. Of course, it's experienced everywhere. My friends from other sectors have obviously experienced it too. I just find that, yes, I just can't be dealing with that. I just don't have the time for it. And I'd also say that although those moments at the time felt like massive setbacks and they really knocked my confidence, that has never stopped me from carrying on. And it's almost given me this intense resilience of, I'm still in control of what I want to do with my career, and not one person's opinion or decision on how it's taking shape will affect me in the long run. It only makes me think that if something goes wrong, I can always rely on myself to find work and kind of turn it around again. That's really what it's taught me. So I think that setbacks are almost a secret blessing where it makes you really, really fiery and resilient, and know that nothing can really affect you, and you don't put so much weight on these situations anymore. Like, I feel quite free, honestly, from it. So yeah, that's a big one.
Wow, there is so much to unpack in what you just said. First off, it must have been tough for you to not pass probation, but it does sound like it might have been one of those turning points for you as well.
Absolutely. I mean, the studio I went to next, Inertia, I absolutely loved, and it was completely way more suited to me, and so much more creative and fulfilling. So yeah, it's happy days, really. I think, like Liz said, your guest from your first episode, is rejection is redirection, and I honestly can't speak of that enough. Like, it's so true. I completely agree with her. It really is.
I love that you were inspired by our earlier episode. But I also really enjoyed Liz's point of view about reframing rejection. And it does feel like that connects a lot to your experience too.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It is what it is. I'm happy that it happened, strangely enough. And yeah, not one person's opinions is going to sway me, really.
Yeah.
I'm stubborn. I'm very stubborn.
Yeah. But so how did you deal with it at the time? I want to dive deeper into that moment. What helped you overcome all those feelings that came with it?
I went to the pub that night with one of the guys that worked there and had 5 pints and loads of cigarettes. and and I couldn't even find my way back to my front door, even though I was literally around the corner from my house. So yeah, I drank, I cried, and I was pissed off with the world for a while. And then honestly, I think I turned it around pretty quick. I was just like, I'll just apply for some more full-time work then, I guess. And yeah, that happened in September. And then I was in a new job in January. And just like water off a duck's back, I think. I just moved on and didn't dwell too much on it. Well, I mean, I wasn't in the great space of mind. I think it definitely makes you question your abilities, even though I was honest about that. I think sometimes you just need to pause for a sec, reframe it, and then come back again. Because I just had a moment out of what I thought was me doing some smooth sailing into 3D and feeling really fulfilled. A setback, pause for a sec, have a little holiday, and then come back again. And yeah, that's basically how I dealt with it. Take a break.
That's so good. And I totally agree with you that those tough transitions can sometimes bring the most clarity about what you actually want.
Absolutely. It really does. It really does. I think it allows you to pause and just reflect for a second. And yeah, just, it's hard to see it at the time, but it is usually a good opportunity. It is leading you somewhere better. And it absolutely did do that for me.
Yeah, totally. And you also mentioned resilience. So looking back, what do you think that experience taught you about resilience or about the kind of creative life you want to build?
It's definitely built and ingrained in me this really strong resilience and determination to get to where I want to be, no matter what, and I can always do it on my own. I think as well, like, I am just unbelievably stubborn and determined with what I want and what I want for my career, what I want for my life. And I don't often get swayed by other people. And I don't often take advice from other people. And I think people would think that's a silly thing, to not listen to the advice of others. People, I'm happy to take on feedback, don't get me wrong, on my work. But in terms of advice on how my career should be shaped, like, I just know in my instinct what I want to do and what I want to follow. So I am very much blinkers on with that. Like, I follow my own voice over that of others. I'm not sure if I'm answering the question. I'm just talking about how stubborn I am.
No, but it definitely sounds like intuition has played a big role for you.
Absolutely, yeah. I think I actually just only ever listen to that, really, is what will truly make you happy in the end. I think your intuition can really direct you in the ways that you want to go. And people will always have opinions on what they think is best for you, but you can just take that with a pinch of salt. And if I had actually listened to all the advice I'd been given, I don't know if I'd be in a good place or a happy place, because I would have worked my way up in a company, and that's not what I want for myself. I don't want to work my way up and just be in agency life. I want freedom and I want time for myself. And I think because I listen to my intuition, that's what I've got. So for that reason, I am really happy.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm curious, have there been times when trusting your intuition led to some unexpected opportunities or breakthroughs?
Yes. I mean, I think trusting my intuition led me to come back to freelancing again, because really and truly and deeply, I want the time to work on my own stuff, and that has allowed me that time. But if I had listened to advice, I would have stayed working full time and worked my way up. And yeah, I'm glad I followed that. Also, following my intuition to not be doing pharmacology, that I'm really grateful for that, because I kind of listened to my own self in that moment. I think it pops up all the time, honestly. Like it plays a huge role in my life, and always, if I listen to it, it takes me the right way. I feel like it's just a human instinct. Our intuition is so powerful. And I just be stubborn. Just be stubborn about it. Like really listen to yourself, because you're the only person that knows how to make you happy. So yeah, big time.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that you have a podcast. It's called Offscreen, and it's such a brilliant podcast. Everyone should go and listen to it. And I love that we both actually started podcasts around the same time without even knowing.
How funny are we?
Yeah.
Two peas in a pod. Because I said to you, I put in our group chat, didn't I? I said I need to use the studio space to record some episodes for our podcast. And then you messaged me saying, I've also been doing one over the past year, and I couldn't believe it. Yeah, our podcast is about a creative life and candid conversations on the realities of that career, the highs and lows, the honest things, and not just the shiny end results of the work and everything that happens behind the scenes. And really, yours is very much along the same lines. And yeah, it's great. Go have a listen. It's called Offscreen.
It's such a good one. You have to go and check it out. So going all in on 3D was such a big decision for you. So what daily habits or small choices have helped you stay motivated and keep improving?
Yeah, I think having a to-do list every morning is really key, and making it quite granular, so you actually do work through those and don't get, carried away in some other technical problem, which often happens in 3D. And then I would say, if it's for personal work that you're doing that day, get to the studio on time or earlier even, and take your work seriously in that sense. Treat it like it is client work, and treat it like a job. They are the main ones for me, honestly, is taking your work seriously.
But how do you fit personal projects in with client work, especially in an expensive city like London?
Oh, I don't think I'm doing it that well. I mean, full transparency, I don't save that much money because I am putting my time into the personal projects, because I love it. And a lot of people would say that's a bit silly. And London is expensive. Like, it's not an easy place to live. You need lots of money, really. And I mean, I just do it. I still struggle with that a lot. I really do. And sometimes you might have a client job that's running on for a few months, so you can't be dipping in and out of your personal projects for like a day at the weekend or in the evening, because maybe they're quite chunky as a personal project. So sometimes you just have to accept that I'm going to park this personal project for now, and I'll come back to it after a few months. But sometimes it's a good thing, because you come back with a new perspective on it, and you go again. But yeah, it is definitely a juggling act. I think saying no to client work is what I try and do sometimes, but obviously it's still hard, because you also have a life to lead. You've got trips you want to go on, like, you've got mortgage to pay, and it's difficult.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's definitely a juggle. But how have personal projects shaped your creative direction, or, even the kinds of opportunities that have come your way?
Hugely. They've had a massive impact. Every time sometimes I feel like it's luck, or just the job comes around at the right time when you just, for example, recently I've just learned this, as I was saying, this character workflow, and it was quite challenging to start with because you're diving into multiple softwares, you're trying to make things compatible with different software. Clothes sims can be a bit of a ball ache sometimes, but having gone through the difficult stages of working that out in my personal work, I can then apply that directly to a client job, and it's smooth sailing because I've already done the hard work in my free time. And in the client work, it's more a case now I can just focus on the art direction of that piece. And I mean, it's great. Like every time that I've dipped out and done some personal development, I've come back and I've got a new set of skills. So I just think absolutely it plays a massive role. Like it's huge for me. And I see so many gains from doing it. I really do.
Yeah, same. But how do you make sure that those projects actually get finished and not just endlessly started? Because it's so easy to start a project, but finishing is another thing.
That is hard. It really is. Since having gone freelance again last year, I have been so much better at it. I'm not sure why. I'm not sure if it's the efficiency at which I work now, but I tend to be much more strict with myself to get a project finished. I'm wondering what it is that's been the cause of that. Maybe it's just skills and experience. Another thing is that I find really useful is if you're doing a collaboration, maybe with a sound designer or another artist, then it stops becoming just your own work with no deadline. It becomes a joint effort where someone else is holding you accountable and you have an end date. And that really helps to kind of treat it more like a client project that has a deadline on it. So that has been useful. The collaborations have definitely been useful. I would say that is a good way of getting your project over the line and finished. And I would also say you have to just let go of perfectionism sometimes. And maybe it didn't turn out exactly how you wanted it, and it's not the best outcome ever, but you finished it. And sometimes finishing it is more powerful than just letting it die in your Dropbox folders. I do feel like that.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned perfectionism, because it's definitely something so many creatives struggle with, myself included.
Absolutely. And I totally get why. I really do. But there's always the next project. There's always time to do it better again. And I just think finishing is sometimes more powerful than constantly reworking and reworking. Yeah,
yes, totally. Sure. So looking at everything you've done, how have those big decisions and also the everyday habits shaped your artistic voice?
I mean, they've given me an artistic voice. Every big decision I've made has led me to finding my thing that I really enjoy and that excites me. And yeah, without having done them, I would have been stuck in the same situation of making a salary, doing work that wasn't like setting my soul on fire, and probably living with some regret. But I've followed my intuition. I've gone against the grain in some way and found my passion. So yeah, it's huge. It's huge. And I think, yeah, it's those really grand decisions, but it's also deciding every day to just keep going, do a little bit more, do a bit better. And yeah, I think it really is just a case of showing up every day and becoming obsessed. No, I'm not saying that's everyone. Not everyone should be obsessed with their work, but I just happen to be.
Yeah, well, me too.
I love it. Yeah.
And I also love how you mentioned that being quite stubborn actually helped you find your voice.
Absolutely. Honestly, I don't think it's advice that people would give out that freely, but I guess it's being stubborn tied to your strong intuition like that, and being strict with your time, prioritizing your work at the same level as you would prioritize seeing your friends and other aspects, like weighting it as strongly as those things. Otherwise you just won't do it, because life doesn't need you to be making art. Life wants you to work, and then you have 2 days to have fun, and put money back into the economy. But you just really have to be strict. Otherwise the work won't happen. So
Yeah, absolutely. But you're juggling so many things, your personal projects, and you learn 3D on your own. So, do you have any routines or practices that help you stay grounded or avoid burnout? Because that can happen so easily.
That is a really hard question. Taking breaks is really important. Really, just I think before I wouldn't really take breaks. I would just work. But actually, the quality of the work probably wasn't as good as it could have been if I'd stopped and, had some time off, because not taking breaks leads to burnout. I think, finishing work on time is really important and not something I always did. And also, like, my dog needs to go out for a walk and a wee.
Sid is the sweetest dog. I love her. Our studio dog.
Yeah. And because she needs to go out, it's a good excuse to stop, take a break and come back. Like she needs to go, so you've got to go for that walk. And stuff like that.
So everyone, go and get a dog. That helps.
Go get a dog. They help you. They help you with your work-life balance for sure.
But I'm also glad that you mentioned breaks, because like you, I'm also so obsessed with my work that I feel like I can't stop. It's like I need to finish this before I can eat or even have a glass of water. And then I realize that it's been hours and hours and I've completely forgotten about the outside world. So how do you take that break when you're so obsessed?
Sophia, I can't relate more. It means you're in flow and it's a good thing, but it's also everything else is secondary. All your just general human needs are secondary. But I don't know if you have this thing where I feel like I have to finish the task before I can treat myself to something like a coffee or a break. And I can't relax if I haven't done those things. I think nowadays I generally do finish work on time. So like I'll leave the studio at 6 or 7. And when I come home, like I'm at home. Like I have my workspace and I have at home. And I think I just really do switch off when I come back here. Saying that, like sometimes I'll still just work through lunch because I can't. It's almost like if you break the flow, then I've lost it. I'm very much an all or nothing personality. So
Me too.
I don't know if I could give advice on that because I struggle a lot with it. It's difficult. It's a difficult one.
Yeah. But on the other hand, I also think it's amazing to be so obsessed about something you do and your work. I mean, it is a gift as well.
Yeah, it is. It's definitely a gift to have that, be able to have that level of focus and determination, because sometimes it's just innate, isn't it? So it's definitely, it definitely allows you those opportunities, but it can also be very unhealthy. I don't know the answer, Sophia, to be honest with you. I think trying to get some perspective, seeing friends and realizing that like design and then, your art isn't the be all and end all of everything. And there are people doing lots of other things out there. And I think checking in with people that don't also do creative stuff makes you realize there's so much else going on. So I think that's healthy, having that perspective.
I totally agree. It's so good to have friends who are in different fields and talk about something else and are not obsessing about some typographic detail.
Exactly. And then it makes you realize maybe I'm slightly insane.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. Yeah, that happens to me all the time, actually.
I think, I mean, we both relate on so many levels with how we are. Yeah, for sure.
So after everything we've talked about, your decisions and habits and your growth as a creative, what does success look like for you and what really gives your life meaning?
I love that question. Success to me is having time to do my personal work, time to think, time to be present with my friends and family. That's absolutely success to me. Success is having that freedom, being able to work remotely, being able to travel, being able to say, I'm not available for those dates because you're on holiday. And absolutely. Having that freedom is absolutely success to me. And that's what I'm doing. So I'm very happy about that.
Yeah, I love that. And if someone listening is feeling stuck or scared to make a change, what would you say to them?
I would say just do the change, because it's probably not as scary as staying in a space where you will have regrets in the future. That's going to weigh so much more heavily on your shoulders. I would say, yeah, I mean, yeah, listen to your intuition. And I would say if 3D is something that you are trying to get into, don't be put off by the technicalities of it, because you will learn, you will get there. And if I did, you definitely can. Okay. So yeah, I'd say that. And another thing is that setbacks are likely to be part of your experience, and see them as a good thing. See them as something that's building your resilience, and keep going anyway. Honestly, just keep going.
That's such a good answer. And so finally, where can people find your work online?
So you can find most of my work through my Instagram, which is Loveland with a whole bunch of D's on the end. And yeah, you can also get to my podcast through there, which is called Offscreen, and my website. Yeah, it's all linked through my Instagram.
I will definitely add all those links in the show notes. Thank you, Lucy, so much for sharing your story today. It was so good to have you as my guest.
Thanks so much, Sophia. You're the best.